Islam was. Let us get started. Just remember, it's open, always open forum. So if you have questions, feel free to ask those. Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace. Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
With Holy Prophet. Noble Duali. Islam. Ashe.
Look at that costume.
Prophet warns all Muslims, governors ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitated speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans, it causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who holds malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive the reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their carding button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Ali. And if the Prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The Prophet is therefore sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their Prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me in the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement an uplifting fund. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, this is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Ali. And that is why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest. The ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples, act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Ali. Islam. start of another week before the end. Any questions or comments from the week? If there's any questions or comments from anything that happened this week, or everybody's got something going on sometime. Today we're going to go into Message to the People, The Course of African Philosophy by Marcus Garvey, edited by Tony Martin. And we're going to be going into lesson 12, The Purpose of Institutions. Now, one of the things that we're trying to get the Moors to do in all the literature by Marcus Garvey, since we know now that we're not Negro, black, colored, replace everything with more that you see that says Negro. Just in your going through that information. So the perspective could be relative to us as far as us reading his work.
You know, part of the objection. As you brought up, I remember this week I came in to pick up my mail, but I also had something to send out too. So I went to the post office on the street here, and this, you know, I noticed that this area, many people think that there's a lot of Negroes in this area.
Yeah.
So when I went to the post office, I mentioned who I am, and coming on behalf of we who are Aboriginal and indigenous to this land. Our nation is Moors, and I'm sending mail according to our right, which is upheld in international law, tax refusal. And the lady, she said, okay. She took the mail and she said, is that all? I said, no, it's registered mail. She said, you have to pay. And she, well, it's already paid for, you know, according to the law, which is listed on the mail. You can check it out yourself once you mention that it's paid for. She didn't have no strife against that. You know, she's like, okay, all right. And I told her I wanted a copy of the receipt. She assisted me. She said, okay, it's 10 cents, but I'll do it for you, whatever the case may be. Then the security guard came out, and he didn't even look at me. He just like you know when somebody sees you but they don't want to just look your way, he just kept on walking, right? And I already thought I was gonna have a lot of opposition, but no, I didn't, you know. So I found out, yeah, that's not even the place where I gotta pick up my mail. It's actually the other one, right there, right? But the place where I originally did is at Dufferin and right there, right? And even though I say I did it, trust me, I could have never done it without the humbling of the truth from the Moors, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and just for go ahead and use that. So there's Canada, Post, and then there's Universal Postal Union. There's you know, FedEx, Express Post, whoever. And then there's Universal Postal Union. right? And you can just Google search or YouTube search that, stuff will come up. Regardless of who you see talking about this, know that the concept of it's paid for is really Aboriginal, indigenous benefit. Like it's not supposed to be a benefit across the board for anybody, right? The reason why it's like that is because people have found things out or been to lectures, been to seminars or whatever like that, and they don't give the stuff to the people. They sell it in a conference. So when they talk about things like 198 number and UCCs and whatever, all those are things that are supposed to be limited to the Aboriginal people being able to still exercise something when they're under occupation. And it's not even supposed to apply to quote unquote foreign people. But being that they've used it, being that they've corrupted it, being that they've taken the right to set male free, they've taken the right and they sold it. Once you get it now back, know that it's your thing. It's not that person on YouTube's putting you on or whatever. Trust me, one of us put them on. All those European sovereign, whatever like that, trust more put them on. Why they even went in that direction that they're going. When you look into the taxpayer queue, then there were some jurisdictions where this was exercised and the mail got returned because they were saying, no, that doesn't apply and all that stuff. That's because of the city jurisdictions having that much of a hold in that jurisdiction that they have say. Like they can deny certain things or not. Whereas in certain jurisdictions, it's not even going to be a question whether it could be done or not be done or what is this or whatever. They're just going to take it and do it, right? So this is lesson 12. Lesson 12, message to the people, the course of African philosophy. The purpose of institutions. Organized society is always a mass of people, and as such, cannot do anything explicit or by detail by themselves. Hence, the organizing of institutions to do the particular work that cannot be done by the masses as a whole. There are different kinds of institutions in a society, but each institution has its particular function, whether it be the church, college or university, school, hospital, academy, chamber of commerce, fraternity, trade union, literary club, sports club, athletic club, gymnasium, YMCA, YWCA, etc. In our present civilization, no society would be considered functioning properly if such institutions did not exist. Therefore, it is necessary for the Moor to pay close attention to developing the appreciation for institutional life. So the Moorish Divine National Movement, Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish Temple of Science, Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs, Moorish Heritage and History School, Moorish Order of Round Table, Circle of Life. All these things are Moorish institutions that are supposed to be for Moors to put their energy, their time, their finance, whatever into, so that they can have something. Because again, organized society is always a mass of people. Organized society is never some individuals. This is again why Noble Jawadi told us about we're a nation off the top. So we can see ourselves as a mass of people. So we don't see ourselves as these individual positions.
And also, we know the word organized. When I hear that word organized, I also put prudence with it. You know, it's like you gotta try to see into the future. Because I know that when I'm organizing the rigs, it's like, okay, we send it on home. It's like, okay, we send it on home. When did I send it on home? How much days did I give them? Oh, shucks, the days passed. Where is it now? You know, so it's like, to be organized, you have to see where it is you're at, and then at the same time, see where it is where you don't put yourself in scenarios where you're lapsing, or you're not walking the path that you know you're intended to walk.
In our present society, in our present civilization, no society would be considered functioning properly if such institutions did not exist. Therefore, it is necessary for the Negro to pay close attention to developing an appreciation for institutional life. It is not necessary or binding that he copies completely the systems, methods, or manners of these institutions, except insofar as they would go to help him to promote a higher life and in accomplishing the most out of this organized society. It is incumbent upon him that he also have and control his own institutions based upon his own cultural and civilized idealisms. So we have our own flag, we have our own headwear, we have our own constitution, we have our own holy book, we have our own greeting, we have all these things that are relative to our society actually being formed as we're exercising. Because remember, we're presenting, this is like a new concept. We've been Negro, black, colored, and all that. This is something, this is putting our mindset in a different place so we can have a different outcome in our life. Hence, Juali with, making the members better citizens, and the members looking at the Moorish movement as theirs, looking at the nation as theirs. And the statement being made that don't ask what the nation can do for you, ask what you can do for your nation. That's what your nation can do for you, whatever you can do for it. Right, having control our own institutions. So even though we have a number from quote unquote province to be charitable or whatever, the exercising of what we're doing is based on our indigenous right, not that number that they gave us. If we say right to travel, it's not because Moorish Science Temple is on the ownership. Right. It's because we have the religious right as a body to have these instruments in place for our members. Right? It might not be that. It might be a bank account or whatever, right? Relative to our culture and our customs and our ideals, what we're about. Because again, once we fund it, nobody could come from the outside and say, hey, you can't, whatever, you can't put your words in. You don't hear anything from you because you didn't put anything in. We didn't get no grant from you. We didn't get any tax breaks. We didn't get any whatever. Everybody did their own, everybody get their own hands dirty to make sure that there is something that we have. And that's what we were talking about with other people having certain things like with Marcus Garvey and the Starliner, that he was given stocks in it for people's financial donation. Right? He was giving them part of the ownership of the thing that you're putting the finance in. Yeah, it only makes sense. Because if the people own it, then they're gonna look at it as theirs. They're not gonna look at it like it's Garvey's stuff and he's doing this so that the people can whatever. Right? They got their thing. There were a couple of documentaries where they were showing people who still had their receipts, had their certificates, their stock certificates for the Black Star Line. You know, it's a lot more. As for instance, he may have his own church, but it is not necessary for him to adopt the peculiar articles of faith of the churches of alien races. He is not a Hebrew, therefore he would not adopt the Hebrew faith. He is not by origin a Roman Catholic, nor an Anglican, because these faiths or religions were founded by white men with an idea of their own. In his religious philosophy, the Moor may safely adopt articles of faith to link him to the Godhead of the Christian faith, and practice such as his particular religion, and so likewise with all other institutions. His universities, colleges, and schools may engage in the same process of education, but with an adopted curriculum necessary for the special benefit of the Moor. His clubs, academies, and unions should be modeled in the same way, with the absolute objective of attaining the end that is particularly desired by the race. The Moor should never completely surrender himself to the institutional life of other people. Otherwise, he will not be original, but purely and merely a copyist. If this could be appreciated, it shows or reveals the wide fields with which remained untouched for Moor's organization and Moor's activity. It is through the institutions of a race that the civilization and culture of the race are built. The Moor should occupy himself in cultivating his own culture and ultimately achieving his own civilized ends, so that in comparison of racial achievements, he may be able to stand out distinctly on those achievements on his own account, as others may do. So that's like when we look at the different cultures, quote unquote, and you might see some cultures that are not necessarily standing from the religious position, but you know that that's what they're using, even though they're coming from a national perspective. So we know that the Hindus, when they say they're going to exercise, or the Punjabis, when they say that they're going to exercise, they're exercising on national things, but they're using the different institution platforms that they have to give them the power to exercise those national things that they're doing. So they have the Punjabis with the turban, being able to wear their turban wherever. It's looked at like it's something religious. That's how it's presented Like this, you can't violate their religious right to wear that. But that's more a cultural thing. That's something turban's been around before they had a religion, to say that they're following something, right? And remember, when we look at, again, all these people that have prosperous nations, the support of the nation is through all the different organizations that they have. Whether they have a bank that's their nation, or a hospital, or whatever like that, everything that they have as a quote-unquote organization is to benefit the nation. It's not organization to benefit the guy who founded it, and then he has something in front of it or whatever, and all it is just a building there. It's actually for the nation. Look at the Chinese Cultural Center over in Scarborough at Progress, the Japanese Cultural Center over down by Winford, right? Those are Aga Khan. Those are cultural organizations that got those things. Cultural organizations relative to whatever particular nation. Just check them out in the city, and all of them have their place, right? Now we have our place. Just like how they got their spot, their place of worship, their place of religious whatever, their place of only their people go in there, nobody else goes in there. Because it's something that's needed, you know, as you know, the organization, the institution is needed so that certain things could be done without there being alarm. So they'll, you know, like they use it even with Islam, that they'll be fighting Islam hard. They'll be going over and beyond against Islam. But Islam means peace. Like what do you mean you're fighting against Islam? Like what's the undercurrent that's making you fight against peace? Because it can be, but then, you know, if they, you know, go there, then they're gonna have to go with, well, the people who were against are our own operatives that turned against us and went back to their stuff. The people who we trained to use against whatever left us and then went back. So now we have a problem with Islam now because it's our own insurgents. Why there's a problem? Why there's an issue with that? Right? Any questions or comments? To live on the achievement of others is to really admit the superiority of others and the inferiority of self. This is Garvey talking. Now, if they're looking at this as Negro, then this statement doesn't apply. There's no way this statement could be made and he's dealing with the Negro mindset, because it doesn't even equate. To live on the achievement of others is to really admit the superiority of others and the inferiority of self. As a fact, it is by such comparison that the Negro is judged as an inferior being. Nothing that is handed to the Negro by somebody else should be sufficiently satisfactory to the Negro. He should seek to surround it with originality and then claim it as his own. Anything that they inherit, anything that is handed down by somebody else, should sufficiently be satisfactory, because whatever he gets handed down he's supposed to take it and build his stuff up with it. But the pattern that we have in our community is take the grant money and then skip town with it. Take the grant money and build some whatever that nothing happens, nobody gets anything out of it. But all these people who aren't around no more got their $80,000 for 10 years because of some $50 million grant somebody got. And then we look around and community is worse than before they had the grant. So what's the purpose? Right, what's the sense? When if you look at it, they took it and did with it what was supposed to be done with it. Because these people are going to say out their face, well, hey, you know, all you got to do is sign this paper, find yourself some directors or whatever, and we'll give you how much ever finance. So the person who's given that, that's reparations. If you don't do anything with it, then hey, don't say we ever gave you anything. Don't complain that you got nothing from the white man and all of that stuff, because all that grant money that those people got from 2000s going up to now, all those black organizations, whoever's that got federal, provincial, municipal, humanitarian organization grant money, should have been able to get whatever it is that they got and either flip that money or put that money into things that are going to be beneficial to the community so that the community could have something. A majority of people did nothing with it. 90% of the grant money taking people did nothing with the grant money, but get themselves new whatever it is that they got themselves. You got a comment one?
Yeah, about that first part there, when someone takes something that you make and they copy it and they claim it for themselves, it's kind of like the patent.
Yeah.
So you created the invention and they go to the patent office and they say, hey, so now their property. Mm-hmm. It's kind of that same mentality that they keep getting. Yeah. You're thinking you're the inferior one and you're the one who made everything go to the street, right?
He is justified in remodeling and reshaping the things to suit himself, because there is nothing new under the sun. Whatever other people have, the Negro is the father of civilization. He constructed the first government in Africa and thereby taught others the way. Always seek to improve on whatever you see fit to adopt. Never leave it at where you adopt it, because somebody else will claim it and prove their right to it. When you added to it or taken away from it, you can prove that it is not the same thing. Therefore, it is yours. Always carefully and thoroughly investigate the accomplishment of other races. Try to improve and beat them at those achievements and keep your achievements a secret from them. Never open up the facts of your achievements to others, because they are too anxious to get the last word on anything that is worthwhile. Always hide the secrets of your achievements while demonstrating those achievements. It must be like a chemist selling his preparation or demonstrating it without giving away his formula. Because the moment he does, there will be many similar preparations on the market. Right, so the setting up of UNIA and the Moorish movement was individuals realizing that they had to fend for themselves. We couldn't rely on others anymore to do for us what we have to do for ourselves. So through UNIA and the Moorish movement, there was many amounts of different businesses, manufacturing companies, schools, community centers. They were getting streets shut down for them to have parades. They were having balls. They were doing lectures. They were doing everything that was necessary for others to look and see that, okay, these people are about something. They're not just out here not having an impact in society. They're actually doing something, right? As they started exercising what it is that they were exercising, people began to realize that the type of activity that they were involved in, which was dealing with civics and nationhood, was waking the people up to a point where the master would not have anybody to keep as his property. The master would be propertyless. Which, if there's no property for the master, then there's no need for the master anymore. Right? Get us.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was just thinking this yesterday, like, so Julie was born in '86. So if you think about it, like his parents could have been born, say, 1860s or even 1850s. Basically, they were born at the end of the Civil War. So their parents were grown people for the Civil War, fought in the Civil War, or were just adults, you know, in their 20s, 30s at the time of the Civil War. So very same thing, you know what I mean? So it's like they're coming from the time where either in Northwestern Maximum, either you were in a community where you held your own, and you already were doing those things, or you were on the plantation and you were doing those things anyway, and you were still the person who was dependent upon to know how to cultivate and grow and fix the wagon wheel and rotate it. It wasn't like you were going to somebody else outside of the plantation to do it. There's some more inside the plantation or whatever, sharecropping, whatever the situation is with doing it, if that's the situation that you're in. Otherwise, like I said, it was communities and towns and so on and so forth that were just doing it. So it's like really, it's only one generation, 2 generations that just got caught in that dependency mindset. Yeah. It's not a thing. It's not where we come from. Yeah. You know, and so it's like you said, Draw was the one who kind of just like brought us back at the right time. Like you said I came, you know, right at the right time. Because it would have been obvious back then. It would have been like, yo, what do you mean Morris doing? What do you mean you're going to their store to get their stuff? What do you mean you're going to them to have them fix your wagon? And be like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
So
okay, say
we're the ones who do, like, we do the stuff. Like, they don't do stuff. We've been doing all the stuff. All hundreds of years we've been doing the stuff.
Save that thought. What the next paragraph. Each institution of a people has its special objects to attain and may not fit in with the idealism of other people. So the Moor should have his own. He is not to be a slave to other people's idealism. Right? Right in line with what you're saying. Right? You know, it's like what we just witnessed with the downstairs. The downstairs it?
No.
So actually I will take a pause from the con if everybody just wants to go downstairs quick class. And just look downstairs. Let's take a pause for the cons.
Yeah, who wants to go on to remove your stuff? Great. I'm not doing it.
You don't have to do anymore. You don't have to do anymore.
What's the name of that book? I gotta get
This
that.
one?
This one, chapter 5. What's BLT?
What is BLT?
Bacon, lettuce, tomato.
Yeah, but what's the basic?
Bacon? What do you mean? What's the bacon? Straightforward. You know? Side of a ham. Side of a ham.
So I guess this one is tofu.
There's veggie protein or something. That's in the bacon.
Yeah.
So you're still a couple behind too.
Yeah, I think it's more than
June and July. August, September. Whatever, yeah.
One. That's just one chapter.
Here we're at.
You know what I'm saying?
This is it, right?
Just one chapter. There's a lot more. We'll be back in a sec. You know, it's all good.
Special. Water. No, I think it's not good. Nice.
Yeah.
It's the same, the more the beer, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I was talking to you about before, remember that? That's what I was saying, yeah. And then each one of us took a task, and did one thing that you, well, you're right. What's the, what is that? Let's see, Swizzage, protein, something, what did you say?
Veggie protein.
Veggie protein.
It's like a mock
Chicken. I think there's a hand of that. So yeah, how's it going, man?
Oh, good, man. Yourself? All right, can't complain. How's your you call that? What's that group? I didn't enjoy it, man. You know what? I see my mother on that thing. I see, oh, crazy. I'm not growing in this thing. You know, but you have to, it's something I guess I gotta learn. It's part of the technology, right? I don't know Facebook, I don't know that. And do something like this now, right?
You already knew, eh? You already
Yeah,
seen the
yeah.
transformation. Okay.
Right, so claiming it as their own. So more just came in here few weeks ago, probably a month or something tops, and like we were talking earlier, you know, if everybody did their part, and let's call their part put in a floor. Everybody did their part. They're not stopping this. And then everybody who comes in, they do their part. They put down their whatever they got to put down. Whatever it is that they do that they're master at, skill at, or whatever. You know what I mean? We put in what it is that we can put in, wherever it is that it fits in. This thing would be done tomorrow. And again, it would be using the templates that were laid down by the people before us who already did these things. In some detail or other, each people's institutions must differ from yours according to their particular idealism. The Jew could never be a Negro in his institutional line, nor an Anglo-Saxon a Latin, nor a Latin a Teuton, or neither a Negro. Therefore, a Negro must not try to be either, but in his institutional line be himself, which as we know is not Negro, black or colored or whatever like that. So, you know, I'm leaning toward somebody playing with this stuff and putting Negro in there so much. Islam more.
Islam more.
Islam.
Islam family. Islam.
All people have separate and distinct functions, and they should keep to those functions. The archangels in heaven have their functions, the cherubims have theirs, and the seraphims have theirs, and so with humanity. Following God and heaven's example, there is no reason why the Negro should not have his, and when he doesn't, he is not living the proper life in accordance with the purpose for which nature made him. Your entire physiognomy is different from other people's. Your hair is woolly, your nose is broad, your lips are thick, and so this difference must also be intended in your outlook and in your viewpoint on life. Anyone who tells you the contrary is a liar and a fraud, and in fact, an enemy to you and to nature. In this human world of confusion, never let anyone tell you that although of different races, you are one. If you were one, God would have made you so, because he is not a deceiver. The Ethiopian is spoken of as being different. Even in the scripture, it is said that he cannot change his skin. Think what that means. It is a fair assumption that others may change their skins, but not the Ethiopian, who is the Negro, the black man. So there must be something permanent and lasting and eternal about the black man. God knows why he fixes it so. Don't try to change it by subterfuge or by inferential fraud. What a grand thing it is to know that while all other things change, you, because of your race, cannot change. Tell this to the world. Tell them how lasting you are, and when they doubt it, send them to their Bibles, which you yourself never wrote. It emphasizes the greater truth, that it may be so, because even those who wish otherwise have to acknowledge in this respect of virtue, the black man evidently was the first man. Adam and Eve were black. Their two children, Cain and Abel, were black. When Cain slew Abel and God appeared and asked him for his brother, he was so shocked that he turned white. Being the affliction of leprosy, and as such, he became the progenitor of a new race born out of double sin. The white man is Cain, transformed, hence his career of murder from Cain to Mussolini. It is evident and fair assumption that when Cain ran away and disappeared from the neighborhood of his parents and journeyed afar, he built up a new race, living in the same country but far away. And in the process of time in Africa, where all this happened, the Negro race, through Adam and Eve, continued their multiplication, and as it spread itself in the development of a civilization, it suddenly came upon the settlement of Cain, and knowing Cain's history of blood, ran the entire race from that neighborhood across the Mediterranean into Europe. The white race of Cain hid in caves for centuries. Therefore, their white skin became fixed, because most of the time they were hidden from the light. Hence, the white man is a European. Arguments from the continuation, perpetuation, and support of the UNIA. The UNIA's work from 1917 to 1937. The UNIA has stirred the entire world of Moors to a consciousness of race pride which never existed before. The UNIA broke down the barriers of racial nationality among Moors and caused American, African, West Indian, Canadian, Australian, and South and Central American Moors to realize that they have a common interest. The UNIA has given Moors throughout the world a program of racial nationalism which never existed before. The association caused all Moors to recognize their common origins as Moors and their African descent. It has caused all other races to recognize the national aspirations of the Moors. It placed the Moors' cause before the League of Nations and the Versailles Peace Conference. It has caused all other races to recognize the national aspirations of the Moors. It placed the Moors' cause before the League of Nations and the Versailles Peace Conference. It placed national aspirations of the Moors before the Disarmament Conference in Washington in 1924. The UNIA caused the French, English, and other European governments with colonies in Africa and the West Indies to extend greater privileges to the native race and to offer them more secure positions in respective civil service, diplomatic service, and political life of the country. Moorish justices, magistrates, and heads of government departments were appointed because of activities of the UNIA in different countries. The economic status of Moors was raised in different countries because of the association. The association taught the Moors how to go into big business. It taught the Moors how to secure his own business enterprises, through which tens of thousands of Moorish businesses have been started all over the world. It taught Moors how to support their own professional men, doctors, lawyers, etc. The UNIA taught the Moors how to support his own. It taught the Moors how to use his political power from which he has benefited in the United States, the West Indies, Africa, and other countries. The UNIA gave the Moors a national flag and a national hymn. It caused other races to spell the word Negro with a capital N. It taught Moors self-respect for their race. It brought courage to the Moors race throughout the world. It caused the Moor to search for a new type of leadership. It taught the Moor preparedness against adversity. It has been most outstanding Moorish organization throughout the world. It is the most recognized international organization among the Moors. It is known in all parts of the world. It has taught the Moor to follow only Moorish leadership. It has saved the Moor from the hypocritical, dishonest leadership of other people, which has never brought the Moor any good results. It taught the Moor that cats don't lead the rats, nor the lions the sheep, nor the wolves the foxes, and so Moors should lead Moors. The UNIA has taught the Moor to never rely upon the sweet-sounding words and promises of others, but to rely on his words and his own promises if he is to be led safely. It has taught the Moors to believe in himself and not to believe in what another man seeks for himself. He is going to give away freely. It has taught the Moors to have his own labor organizations and not to expect other laborers who are competing with him for the same employment to give honest leadership for him to compare with them for the same, to compete with them for the same job. It is the only organization that has given the Moors an international outlook. It gave the Moors a press. It gave the Moorish press a broader point of view. It has kept the Moor from going red for the convenience of others. In 20 years, the UNIA changed the attitude of the Moor and set him on the way to a new hope. One of the fundamental desires of the UNIA is to approach every Moor with the attitude of friendship, brotherhood, and sympathy. Therefore, every representative of the association must adopt an attitude that works to bring about the realization of such a desire.
Hearing that, after reading the Morse Science and Holy Quran, you can hear how RB is slowly dishing out the truth to people. He couldn't just come and just say whatever it is, you know, like a lot of our people still were idolizing certain things that they should have never been idolizing from the very beginning.
Right.
So in a sense, you kind of quote unquote got a saying go, you gotta fish the bait.
Yeah.
Wow. Also, when the Quran talks about not thinking in terms of abundance, but in terms of economy, that's really what Greg was talking about. People just need to keep the economy to ourselves, more to ourselves.
Yep.
And it's all there.
And that's even part of the thing they were talking about earlier with keeping the secrets. You know, having the finance circulate amongst ourselves. That every individual should have something to offer that others can support. In order to even do that, right? It may be necessary to use a great amount of tolerance to teach the desired end, but whatever is necessary must be done to bring about such a state of affairs. The policy is that you cannot drive a Moor away from the organization and still want to organize all the Moors. Every Moor that is lost prevents the ultimate achievement of the aims of the organization. So never try to drive a member out of the organization. Hold him and convert him. Always appreciate the fact that the majority of Moors are ignorant, and you must exercise a great amount of tolerance to educate them to your point of view. See, that same stuff we're talking about with what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Right?
That,
you know, to try to impart this to the ignorant is a task. It's a task to get the people to stop and even have some type of consideration to our perspective where we're coming from, regardless of whatever it is that we can show and prove to say that, yeah, this is the path that it's supposed to be, right? Until they walk it themselves, they're not gonna really, it's not gonna mean anything, right? You know what I mean? You know, that's really where the conversion happens, when they actually walk in the shoes and see that, okay, yeah, this is actually something real, right? You know, and again, because it's divine and national, that divine part is going to be slapping you all the time until you come to your senses and realize, oh yeah, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And the more you deny it, the more heartache, the more pain, the more frustration, you know what I mean? The more you have to deal with that, you know, you shouldn't have to deal with it.
And to interject, also hearing that we as Moors, we can't lower our degree. But even when we lower our degree to a reason that we don't know, when they do hear what we're saying, then they realize they don't know. And it's just, they're fearful. Well, they're fearful because a lot of times they're only going off what somebody's saying and not even looking into their own selves as Prophet Noble already displayed in the Quran. But as y'all seeing here, the conversion is really them breaking past that barrier of fear.
Yeah.
You know, when you're walking down the stairs and you miss that step, it's like, oh shucks, when you touch the ground, oh, it's only that step.
Right.
Islam. Who are they? Meaning our family that's lost.
Whoever when we're reasoning as Moors, when we're reasoning to those who don't know.
You mean the Moors that
Unconscious Moors.
yes, black in the black state.
Unconscious Moors.
Yes. It's not easy. When you realize what lost that seed means, that's not an easy thing to get out of. It's deeper than mind control. You know, you're alive, but you're presumed dead. So, you know, that's like a zombie state of mind. So it's not going to be easy, especially if they don't know, the family don't know. You know.
And we can't even utter words like mind control to them
because they're under mind control. You know, they're lost at sea. You know, it's a serious thing. You know.
And then when they start to realize it, what is mind control, and they start to see for themselves. Oh shucks, I am under. I'm Frankenstein. I'm the Frankenstein.
Yeah. But the thing is, you know. The thing is, if they study, they'll see it, but at the same time, it's ended by nature itself, by Allah itself. Even in our black state, we know there's something wrong with the picture. You know, there's something wrong with the picture, but there's still no hate, you know it. I mean, but this settles you down. This knowledge settles you down. It's a different type of war now. Go ahead, more.
This is, you know, again, right on tune. This is your missionary work. As other people were willing to sacrifice their time and even their lives to Christianize our race, so we must exercise patience and time to civilize our people.
Door to door?
Door to door. Door to door with the clipboard. That's all. And then, have a good day. Next door. The attitude of expelling members and suspending members is not accepted within good grace and should be resorted to only under the most extreme circumstances. Like people charging people $5,000 for stuff or whatever. You could expel those people. The attitude should be adopted to find an alternative to expulsion. The best way to prevent dissatisfaction in a division is to live up to the Constitution and bylaws, because it is only with the Constitution and bylaws that you can discipline a member. If a member violates the Constitution and bylaws, you can reasonably draw the violation to his or her attention. You cannot show partiality in a division of the association or in the work of the association. You must be impartial to maintain the principles of the association as the attraction for those who do not know anything about the association. Never cease in your efforts to influence a Moor to join the association until he has joined. So long as he stays out of the UNIA, the work of uniting all the Negroes cannot be accomplished. Always remember that you are a missionary for the cause of the association. So lose no opportunity that may present itself to make converts for the association. And then we'll just switch the converts to people declaring their nationality. Right? So there's no lost opportunity. Like Sis was saying, knock the door, hey, you're a Moor. Either they accept it or they don't accept it. At least you know you did your part in letting them know. And that's the only thing that you would let them know. After that, it's up to them to say, oh, wow, Moor, what's that? Or I never heard that before. Or, oh my gosh, a fez. Or however, you know what I mean? They're gonna react. Always give the opportunity, right? And lose no opportunity that may present itself to make converts. A splendid way of proselytizing for the association is to interest all your friends and acquaintances in its movements Wherever you go among them, tell them of anything done and accomplished by the association. Always find some work for the association. During the time you are not actually attending a meeting of the association or doing any special work for the association, devote your time in calling upon your acquaintances in the neighborhood, in your community, to talk them into becoming members and supporters of the association. So I was speaking with somebody, somebody called me today from Philippines or something. They were in contact with somebody here, they know somebody here, and they were asking them about Moors or whatever. So they want to get involved in some kind of way. They're quote unquote not Asiatic, right? So the position that I was telling them was that you have to look at it like you're assisting the Moors, right? You don't have the issue of being Negro, black, colored, or whatever. You have a nationality. Yeah, I got nationality, my nationality, whatever, right? It already knows what's up, right? Bringing them into the mindset of recognizing ipso jure the fact that, you know, them being conscious of certain activity that's been taking place by colonial Europeans and them not wanting to be part of it. Their mentality is, okay, I have to be a Moor too in order to be out of the whatever. No, you already got nationality. You just have to show allegiance to who you know would be the authority, which would be the Moors in that case. So I was saying that to say, please, one. We're saying that to say that you might not get somebody to say, okay, I'll be a member or whatever, but you might lean them to being a supporter, right? Or a learner of what it is being presented, because we know that the information that we have is relative to anybody who's willing to learn. Right? This is not something discriminatory that, you know, European can't come learn this, or, you know, some other nation can't be in this hall of learning. Right? Like, we don't turn people away from knowledge of the ancient foremothers and forefathers. If everybody knows that way, everybody came from Lucy or whatever like that, then it shouldn't be no issue with anybody. And as soon as the issue comes up, you already know that these people either have an inferiority or a superiority complex that they haven't dealt with in themselves.
Or they're all under mind control. I became weird.
Yeah, real quick fast. Hey, and make sure you send me my stuff back there, because I see this. I see this. I see the stat getting low back there. You should know all the people of your race on your street, in your neighborhood, and in your town. Approach them in your leisure hours, one by one, right? Door to door, to convert them to the organization and to get support from them for the organization. Where you come across responsible people of the race, take their names, professions, and addresses after talking to them about the association, and send the same in a weekly report or a monthly report to the President's General Office at headquarters. Ask the President General to communicate with these persons in the manner you think would best help to clinch the support of these persons of the organization. Right? So use that for example with secretary, treasurer, grand chief, governor, mufti, whatever, that you know somebody's a magistrate. You know that they're grand potentate. You know that they're some lodge, whatever. You know that they're, but you know that hierarchical mindset is in our people, but they never put themselves in the hierarchy. So to get over that, use the title people that you know to reach the title people of their whatever. So when he says, well, yeah, I'm the president of the, oh, well, the president of the Moorish Culture Club. You maybe should have a conversation with him because, you know, you could probably whatever, you know. Well, we have, you know, well, I'm the grand matron of the, oh, well, we have, you know, women's auxiliary. You should probably talk with the head of our women's auxiliary because there might be something that, you know, could be worked out from the unity perspective. Right? Or again, the idea of them not being members or whatever, but them wanting to support. Them seeing the vision, recognizing the cause, and saying, you know what, yeah, I'll put whatever behind whatever these people are doing because it looks like they're probably doing something beneficial to society, right? Which is how, you know, majority of people get where they're going. It's just that they have their own support now. They have their own saying, okay, I'm going to be a silent partner in your whatever. Here's 50 grand. But, you know, don't say my name or whatever like that. I'll just be in the back and you guys do whatever it is that you do. Just give me my little plaque thing. And then and they're good with that. Or give me my honorary member of your association, whatever. Right? And then people support their own thing. But being that we would have challenges with getting our own to really gravitate, like we know, because of the mind state, right? It might be outside people that have certain connects. So, you know, like we're saying, you know, it's not necessary that people be members of it, right? Because they can't support. You know what I mean? We would like the people to be members. We would like the people to take, you know, Negro, black, colored, put that somewhere, declare who they really are, and start being from that perspective. Instead of, you know, just seeing this as some organizational thing that they don't want to join, you know, because they're not with sevens inside circles, so they can't be part of this. Well, not really. It doesn't really work like that. You know what I mean? There's missing work. If you're for the liberation of yourself, but you're not telling me you're a Moor, you miss something. And we have the missing keys in order for people to get on the right path, but it's only if they want it. Because as much as, you know, like Garvey's saying that, you know, yeah, you don't want to chase away people and we need the people or whatever like that. We only need people that are going to be active for us. For our organizational stuff that we're doing, we only want active people. We can't use passive people. Passive people are useless for what we're doing. Right? Because uplifting, you have to, you know what I mean? Like, you're not uplifting just. Fuck the man, just uplifting. Everybody's standing there. Yes.
Some action with study, right?
Yeah. You gotta do something with it.
Even in the Moorish newspaper, trying to recollect it, but what Johnny mentions that, you know, we had some Moors, loyal, active.
Yeah, and faithful.
And loyal, and active, and temple, you know?
Yeah.
And That's all towards a more divine national movement, you know.
Yep. Where you come across responsible people of the race, take their names out. Always keep in touch with the newspapers published in your community. Get the newspaper publishers to print favorable news about the activities of the organization. See to it that every intelligent person in the community of the race subscribes to or purchases the Moorish Guide newspaper, you know, any other literature that Moors have, so they may keep up with the activities of the movement. Read the Moorish Guide regularly yourself so that others will not have information you have not got. So again, going back to always keep in touch with the newspapers published in your community. Get the newspaper publishers to print favorable news about the activities of the organization. So how you doing? Oh, yeah, over. God's here for the key. Yeah, give me that door. He's coming up. Omar's right over there. Yeah. When we have this thing called our nationality and birthrights, and being a part of the temple, being a part of the nation, you always are representing yourself first. It might look like the other way, but you know, your interaction with people is going to be how they look at you first, because you're the one talking with these people. How they deal with you is then how they look at you is then how they're going to look at wherever you're coming from. So with this idea of keeping in touch with newspapers and newspaper publishers and magazine whoever and TV whoever and whatever, this is your birthright for you to exercise. So, you know, again, either you're competent and you're gonna say what's supposed to be said, or you respectfully yield the floor and give the number for somebody who you think is more competent, that can, you know, say what you want to be said that maybe you don't know how to say it. But don't be thinking you need some representation to talk for you all the time or whatever, because we're in the temple and there's a grand sheik and well, if I need something I have to go and the grand sheik's gonna seal it and then the treasurer is gonna sign and the secretary is gonna sign and chairman and grand sheik and whoever, they're gonna sign all my stuff. So that means that, you know, they made me because they signed my stuff or whatever. No, that's we're back in your position by witnessing whatever it is that you bring. We're not approving, oh yeah, our signature on that, we approve that you can do what you're doing. No, we're backing your stuff. We're saying, oh yeah, everything that they're saying is right and exactly. Penalty of perjury. Right?
And it shows, like, let's say some said federal government or any sort of state that's tolerable, that you come from an organized nation.
Exactly.
So they see that your society is a nation and not some sort of corporation.
Right.
So you still have to present yourself properly. Now, you can't represent yourself, you can only present yourself properly too, right? So you have to have that competency to go along with it.
Right. And with the presentation, it's strictly your stuff that you're presenting, what you study, what the stuff books you got, you highlighted or whatever. things that you extracted from class, and then you applied that to your life, whoever's class it was that you might have went to, right? Not limited to you're here, so you only go to these classes. We would hope that Moors are going to all these other more stuff that they got going on out there. They're not just focusing on this only. You know what I mean? But there's too many Moors out there with info for us to not go to them too. You know what I mean? Because everything's gonna be calibrated different by everybody differently. I might not receive what it is that I was supposed to receive. It was that person that was supposed to receive it and then translate it to me for me to really get what it was that I was supposed to get. You know? When you attend meetings of division,
when you attend meetings of division as an official, always carry yourself with dignity and always be impartial in dealing with the affairs of the division. If you take sides not based on the Constitution, you are only destroying your own usefulness in that division and to the parent body. Your honor must always be uppermost in dealing with matters affecting the division when you visit them. If you are an official of the body, of the parent body, always see that the dignity of the parent body is maintained through you, and any behaviors on your part will reflect upon the judgment of the parent body in appointing you. If you are a representative of the parent body with proper credentials, you must observe the agreement entered into between you and the parent body for dealing with the affairs of the association. Any violation of the agreement may cause you to lose your office and a representative of the parent body. Never overstep your authority in dealing with a division. As a representative of the parent body, never attempt to show your grand superiority to the displeasure of members of the division or officers of the division. Be as modest yet as firm as you can be in your dealings. Never invite antagonism more than an arrogant and unreasonable display of power. The most powerful people in the world are the most modest when dealing with those whose goodwill they depend on.
So again, this is Marcus Garvey, Message to the People, The Force of African Philosophy, edited by Tony Martin.
First we gotta be talking about the Constitution, right?
Yeah, it was saying that
Never take sides on an issue that's contrary to the Constitution.
Something like that.
What page was that?
We read arguments for the support of the UNIA. and the purpose of institutions. The social confusion. Man at his best in his society is always quarreling. He is never satisfied. Don't believe that you will find in your lifetime the solution for all his problems and ills. Attend only to those that concern you and your group. If you can solve your own group's problems in your community, you have done well. Let others solve theirs. The time you waste running around with others and helping them in their problems, you are robbing your group of that much time and help them solve their problems. Whatever a man is sober or drunk, he is a disagreeable beast. You will find it so in every community. So search for your man and tame the beast. He is never of the same mood all the time. At one time, you think you can like him. At another time, you think you could kill him. Tame him towards the end of your own social satisfaction, for dabbling in the confusion of others will only make you more confused, and your divided energy will only tend to defeat the special purpose which you should have in solving the problems of your race. Never forget that all other groups in the society of your community are looking after their own individual group's interests, and your interests, except from the community point of view, is never theirs. Therefore, their interests should never be yours, as far as the particular group's interests are concerned. Don't be disappointed if other people shock you by their behavior, because man is made that way. He acts that way chiefly because he is racially different. The white man may compliment you today and abuse you tomorrow, simply because of your race. Don't trust the whole community then, if it is made up of different groups, because it is apt to disappoint you by being selfish at any moment as far as the division of the particular interest is concerned. Always pick out your interest in the community and conserve it, because others are doing the same. It is only when you tread on the heels of others by accident that you find out there are differences between you and others. Your mistakes doesn't prove a fact. The fact was there before your mistake. It is always a fact that each group has its own individual and collective racial problems. The white man can never be a Negro, and the Negro can never be a white man, except after eternity, and you do not live that long. You may be the same in soul, but you cannot see a soul. So the similarity is beyond you. What you see is yourself physically, and there is no doubt that there are physical differences between you and the other man. So watch your step in the social confusion of life. Always remember that another person is not you, for that other person knows too well that you are different from him. He is always on guard to divide the line of interest. This applies everywhere all around, in your home, office, workshop, in the street, and in the community. Your wife will grab the article and say, "This is mine," and refuse to give it up, although you thought you were the one, and what was yours was hers, and hers yours. She always has a time to claim her own, either in peace or confusion. So always have your own in social confusion of life, because even you and your partner may have a run in different directions to save your skins. If a person is gone with what is yours in another direction, you may lose your life following what you should have been carrying with you. Never forget this. If a person is gone with what is yours in another direction, you may lose your life following what you should have been carrying with you. Never forget this. It is of great importance to you for your own safety. You should always have your own fare to pay the conductor. You may have to walk while other person rides, because you can never tell where confusion will spring up. It may be in the street near the neighborhood. It may be 100 miles from town. And it will be a long walk if the car moves off because of the confusion between you and the driver. Always expect confusion in the dividing line in the social in the social contract of life? Islam.
That's Market studies.
Message to the people. This was a UNIA course.
You wrote that?
Yeah. And then it was introduced by Tony Martin.
He's born in so-called thinker.
Trinidad. Who's that? Tony Martin?
Who's that? Who wrote that book?
Yeah, Garvey.
Garvey.
Garvey, yeah. Yeah.
Narrated by Tony Martin?
Edited.
Edited?
Yeah.
No, like my point I'm trying to make is, you know, like you wrote this book, right? And it's like the amount of information like he's putting out, you know, like the teachings that it's what you just read, you know. It's like a real philosopher, like somebody that really studied self and everything around him.
Yeah.
So it's like this man comes from our mind, so-called Jamaica.
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is the people that so-called look up to Marcus Garvey, they've never visited this person.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second.
Say what Garvey told you, taught you. You know, the Garvey hates you, you still talk
They're supposed to. They're supposed to have. You know, but you know, just like with the religions. Once the people become part of those things, all the information is just info that, you know, if they read it, they will. If not, then, you know, ain't no big deal because they're part of the thing, so they're protected, and, you know, God loves them because they're part of the Pentecostal or whatever. You know, they don't have to read everything. But again, it's only, you know, again, with going through these things and you're hearing him speak from this.
You hear most of the elders say, you know, to the young ones like myself, oh, you know, you don't know your roots, you have to know your roots and culture. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, okay, you gotta know Marcus Garvey's philosophies and that.
Yeah.
But you're telling me this book he wrote himself, and it's like that's going in.
Yeah, he's talking straight more science.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's talking.
So it's like what are you telling me? Because what I'm trying to tell you is that you're more, but you're saying you're not more, but you're telling me you gotta know your roots and talking about Marcus Garvey.
Right.
You've never heard him talk like that, or you just got the like what? Did you get a taste of it, like a little piece of it? Like, I don't get it because you're talking. That sounds like nationality.
Yeah. But it's the thing of the people not checking it. You know what I mean? Like how many? It's no different than if we look at even basic people who are out here today. How many of them who say, you know, they're gonna get some retro sneakers or whatever, know who the guy on the sneaker is if it's retro?
Yeah.
They don't know Stan Smith or whatever.
They don't even know who Ewing is.
They don't know Ewing. They don't know, you know what I mean, Pippin. They don't know. They got their shoes though. You know what I'm saying? They're the best whatever, left hand or whatever like that. You're wearing left hand guy's shoes. You don't even know who he is. You know what I mean? Right? Because they never check. They just think that this is how it is. They're like, this is just how it is. You know what I mean? You go to the store, you pay, you get whatever, and then you put it on, and then that's whatever.
What was the name of the book again?
This one?
Yeah.
Message to the People. And it turned into a book, but it was a course outline.
Oh.
It was a course outline for on African philosophy.
But mainly, from hearing that, all I'm pretty much hearing is humble thyself to whatever is virtuous from your nation, from the ancestors. Because even that last reading, all I hear is that, I don't know the number, but the chapter of Julie talking about man rising, how come man in the uprising, he's quote unquote God, and absolutely his word.
Mhm.
What is it that's causing us to not sustain ourselves to modesty? What is it that's causing us not to sustain ourselves to that which we are, and having us to change the nature of magic beasts, so forth and whatnot, black stuff.
Yeah, and the thing of you know, it's like, and going back to that thing of, you know, the cow doesn't know that maggots are gonna eat you one day. He's just there eating his grass. He don't care about, you know what I mean? There's some afterlife, cow afterlife or whatever like that. You know, that's his purpose, going through his motions.
Just being a cow.
Just being a cow.
Grass makes some milk for, you know, for the baby.
That's it,
And
you
for
know.
the calves,
That's
I
it.
should say, not babies.
But you know, being that we're the higher beings, you know, being that we're the higher beings, then we have to be living by certain standards.
We have thought process.
So, right, and these are the things that this stuff was for. You know, what the Quran was for, what you know, the course in African philosophy was for, was to get man to go from the beast to the God man. The whole point of all the NAACP and all that stuff is stop being a beast, slave, whatever, and improve self. I mean, improve self in some way, shape, or form. Just so that, you know, the posterity could see that there's some change happening. You know what I mean? And then not be mad that, you know, they weren't told certain stuff and stuff was held back from them and whatever like that. You know?
Exactly. I was looking at something called the laws of human nature. And we were talking about the higher self and the lower self. And then they put it in the nature aspect of how you're talking about the cow doesn't know, it's you know what I mean? Not even thinking about that stuff. But with our ourselves, our ancestors being around for millions of years, learning right from wrong, put it down, wrote it down so we wouldn't have to go through these stumbles. And then once we lost our way again, I guess these teachings would probably bring us back up to the higher self and thought process. You know, because children know, we all know right from wrong, but if you really don't know right from wrong, and your mind control is not easy.
Yeah.
But then once you get the teaching and studying back into you, you can't deny it. So then you gotta live it. Then you gotta be it, and it doesn't have to do with any nationality cards or any kind of instruments or information, because everybody really knows who we really are, because they study too.
Yeah. I
went across this the other day when I was at this bank, and they were trying to get me to fill out some information. I said, well, this is an emergency. I don't got nothing on me. And then I started talking to the woman. She was a Hindustani, Asiatic. And then I just kept on talking to her, and I told her I'm a Moor. And I said, really, what you're asking me is something that's going to expire anyway. I said, what you should be asking me is for a nationality card that doesn't expire. And then she said, oh, I read about the Moors in school and stuff like that. Then next thing I know, she just started processing papers. Here, see you later.
That's that.
Yeah. Without any hoops and jumps. It really didn't matter to me. Yeah. But after that, she went into the file and she said, oh, geez, what's your year of birth? So I said, yeah, that's me. And she couldn't believe. And then I said, my mind's organic. It's always been organic. That's how it's not my way home, to be honest with you. But not really my way, because it was in nature, the nature. It's in all of us. It's in all of us. Like I said, you know something's wrong with this picture, sometimes, you know that father tell you like these children, but I didn't know about more child to ever say, listen, I can't, Mom. I know you want me to
be a nigga.
You can say that again. But I said I can't. I'm just gonna do what I want to, take it or do whatever I gotta do. And you know, I got kidnapped a few times for this shit, but oh well. And that was a lesson too, because then it came into, once you get into this information, you put those lessons together that you're seeing for your own self on the stage.
No, you wanna just talk with the children just about the institutional stuff that you dealt with and go into, because you know that's my story, yeah. You know that's my story.
Or do you want, or from the kidnapping institution?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean what?
The child institution. The child
Oh, like,
institution.
how old is he now? What the so-called 6? Is he in school? 6? What grade is that? What?
6 grade 1 or something?
Oh, yeah, well, okay, then. Well, we'll talk about that then. 'Cause when I was in grade
Yeah, just a
one,
brief, just a brief on, just
for me being
the
myself,
importance, yeah.
my network and my nature and my energy, they failed me in grade 1. How do you fail a child in grade 1? I did fail in grade 1. Then they started telling my mother, I was a slow learner. Then they put me in the corner with the dust cap on. Sat in the corner trying to mess with my head. But my nature still couldn't allow me to even fall for their psychological warfare that they were trying to put me in. You see what I mean? So, basically that's what they do to children. And they're doing another job now because now if I was living at this time as a child, they probably had me on some chemicals trying to alter my mind because I'm doing what nature was intended, for me to do as a child. Like this little baby here, she's very kind of stuff. But we're always trying to discipline them, but I know why now. That's how we went back to sleep. After that Holocaust that our ancestors seen us go through, those mass murderers, murdering and everything like that, parents probably said, oh, geez, we got to save our children.
Yeah.
You can't be yourself right now. Just do what they tell you to do.
You'll
Because
actually
there's only
watch
one way
that,
to
because that's
survive.
dripping right there, so.
There is a Holocaust. Great Holocaust.
Yeah.
They call it what's that? Road Tears, what's that?
Or Trail of Tears, yeah, Trail of Tears.
Trail of Tears, whatever, but nobody doesn't know the misnomers who they are. That's what it really is.
Yeah.
Then the Holocaust from the islands to the mainland, from the mainland to the islands, is the ones that can remember that was a great Holocaust. So nobody can remember how to get started in home. So now, out of that kind of, what's that stuff happening to people in the world when they see people get killed and everything like that, and they're all strict. What's that called? So basically that's what the family's in. Like Sick Nation, what's it called again, bro?
Post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, post-traumatic stress. That's what, and now coming out of it, this is the healing point, coming out of it with more knowledge.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Right. White power! White power!
I had to get charged up.
Yeah.
I'm in the battlefield, my battery get low, so I gotta come home and charge. Yeah.
We got you.
Brother Bassel, you want to ask that? I got the email. If you want to just ask that question out, the one that you sent in, about the lien.
Right. How does one, when he receives, or when a person, when a national person receives or gets hold of somebody's bond number or registration number, and that entity is in dishonor, how can I apply a lien on them using that registration for that occupational jurisdictional system?
No, one of the
Conditions.
publishinfo.net, Brother Mario Bay, these models. Brother Mario Bay, he has a book on that subject matter. In this jurisdiction, what we found out is that You know when, for example, with they do it a lot with collection agencies out here. Collection agents have to be bonded. They can't move. They can't move that. So that's legal. The collection agents have to be bonded, right? But they don't bond all the individuals. They just have what they would call a blanket bond, and then everybody's under that. So if you have to lien, you're not going to be able to lien the individual because they're not personally bonded. There's a bond that covers everybody. So the opposed to liening the bond, the nationals should be suing them. Is really where it's supposed to go, because we're looking at the jurisdiction that if they're saying that they're doing this, then you already know they're unconstitutional. Because if they're doing that, then you can also say that there's no oaths either, or that the oaths that they are doing are not really going to be upheld, even though they're saying that they took one. Or they might say that they signed something or whatever. Right? So, and again, it's what are you leaning based on? So, majority of people that are dealing with this for a lien on the bond is because that quote unquote position, that quote unquote person has some type of official capacity. In corporate jurisdictions where there's no state republic, there's no official capacity from top to bottom. So doing that process of lien them is really just gonna have you just going through motions that there's no real remedy.
What about closing down the building to the public? Because if you have a lien to a building, wouldn't they just lock up the doors and allow no business to go through there?
And then like that, when, for example, with the Moors in Mecca, or even Dr. Ali, right? When they would put liens on judges or whatever, yeah, that's what would happen. Because those people have official oaths that they took, or they're bonded because of their constitutional oath. So once they violate it, they're done for once they violate it. It's open season for you to go sue them in certain, especially when you're looking at the 13 original states. It's free reign to go against people who violate their official oath. So you have those abilities to do those things. You know, once there's that state republic, and going to the thing of the building shut down. In our jurisdiction would be everybody who goes up to the front side of Marsh National. And then what are they going to do? Everybody goes up and says that. They'll have to shut down. They would, because they would have, what are they doing? What are they going to be doing? You know what I mean? Right? And these are some of the things that you know, we're dealing with. That makes it a challenge with dealing with these people. Why we tell people try not to deal with these people. You know what I mean? Yeah, man.
I'm talking about you just asked Brian Sheep here. One of my workmates, since I've been giving him some
Nuggets.
yeah, he's been actually putting liens, but he's not doing it as a national, but out of business. and they don't lock the doors down, they just can't translate, they can't do no business. So that's when they call him up and say, oh, take the lien up. He's like, okay, make sure you got my energy notes. And then it goes like that, and it stops the press. You know, it stops the press.
Yeah.
Well, he is a national, but he did a complaint. He's out there. Yeah, he's in court. So when they're not paying him and they're acting up, after he got this little, you know who I'm talking about. Once he got this knowledge, he puts it to use.
Because you know, in that instance, the oath is the contract that whoever violated. So it's either, you know what I mean? I'm putting the lien because you have a contract that you owe me 50 grand. So if you don't want to pay the 50 grand, okay, well, something that you got that's worth 50 grand is not mine. Or pay the 50 grand.
They can't move.
Which is with regard to where you're saying put a lien on them is where it should go, like that. But that could only happen in the jurisdiction where the people are official. And the reason you're putting the lien on them because they're violating their official position.
What if they're not official but acting official, like various
Right. So that would be sue them because they're misrepresenting an official. Which is that's you know, that's treasonous. It shouldn't even be sue them. It should be gallows or putting them on the wall. You can't claim that you're a judge or whatever when you're a magistrate and you're giving people time or whatever like that. And then you're giving them time for weed and weed's legal and then people aren't even, you know, right?
It's a legal track that's going down.
Yeah, right. And just with people who, you know, have certain issues with people where they're saying, oh, they're violating and then you're gonna leave them or whatever. It shouldn't be just like Brother Kufu's situation. Where he had a ticket, fought the ticket, went in there, put his status on the record, and then they said, withdrawn, dismissed. Go home. You're not even dealing with that BS today. You just get out of here. You don't want to hear anything.
Well, I'll tell you what. Everybody's telling the truth these days.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Can't get away from it.
It's got nothing to do with, you know.
You can't get away from it.
Yeah, everybody's telling the truth.
You know.
Hey, I heard some of the Moors were at the game the other day and had them on the Jumbotron or whatever. Before, was it you? I heard he was on the Jumbotron. Oh, yeah. How did I hear that? I said, I know what you guys are talking about. Well, I got a call. They said, hey, Moore, I see some Moors on the Jumbotron. I said, yeah. He said, one had glasses on. I said, I knew who that was. I could see some dreads. He said, man, I just see some Moors and some women. I said, yeah. I said, I know exactly who you're talking about. Oh, no, that was a good look because, you know, hey, that was like the deacon was out there.
Yeah.
Because now what happened was the brother I've been kicking it to, and hit him even harder because he went down there to watch the game, and all of a sudden, geez, Moore's been telling me about Moore's. All of a sudden, I'm just looking at these Moors on the screen.
Quick call. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I said, you're open now. I said, it's like you're open now. So
Yeah.
It's coming at you, even when you're not looking.
You're unplugged. Yeah, you're unplugged. You're unplugged. Gonna see stuff.
Yeah.
Morris Corona Soul sent this question. We are fairly new Morris to the movement and have a lot of questions. We like to make public to all Moorish Americans. Some of our Moorish brothers in another study group sent us a video clip of a Moor who proclaims to be the spokesman for Moorish Americans and says that we are both U.S. citizens and American citizens. Are U.S. citizens and American citizens the same or different? If you so choose, you may edit the clip as you like to address the subject. Well, we don't, actually, let's see if the clip opens up here. Clip's not even opening. Okay, so U.S. citizens and American citizens.
I think that got everybody all messed up when, what's his name, Trump started talking about birthrights.
Birthrights.
And I said, you guys, now you're really tripping out. I said, you know, you're talking to a whore. I said, you know, we're not playing them games. I mean, and then I said, you better go watch Ted the Bear or whatever. And look at, you know, talking about what's that case, you know, the boy, you know, Ted the Bear. When he's trying to be a person.
Yeah.
And then they brought up the case,
Oh,
the Dred Scott case.
Oh,
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah, they brought the Dred Scott because now I'm saying, well, they're looking at this bear like black people.
Yeah.
You know, because his character was in his, well, you know what Tosh said, the nigger industry was all hip. You know, it wasn't there, it was just, you know, his personality, you know, his nigger was all live, right?
In Family Guy, there was a Christmas episode, and then Santa was like, "I can go be with Allah now." And I'm like, my sister's mother, and I'm like,
So now when, you know, it's like the Dred Scott case, you know, and then I had to tell somebody when they hit me up with this information, and I said, I know where you got this from, because Trump's running around talking about he can take away people's
Suspend birthrights or whatever.
and, you know, citizenship.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, okay, then, well, that's, you know, good, but it got nothing to do with more than you really study it. And I said, well, if you look up the Dred Scott case, I said, you'll see why he can say that. You see, or try to get away with that. But anyways, yeah, I got something for their ass when I put Ted the Bear back on it. I got a few clips for these so-called black people. When I put Ted the Bear on there.
Right, so U.S. Canadian citizens versus American citizens. If the American, we were talking about this in a class maybe last week or earlier in the week. If the American is a citizen, then he's a citizen of their own government. Right? If the American is a citizen. If the US or Canada is claiming a citizen, that's corporate citizenship. Right? Because US and Canada are two corporate jurisdictions. So when you see the people who say that they're U.S. citizens, as far as Moors are concerned, the ones that say that they're U.S. citizens, those are the ones that, when you look at their temple classes, they have Moroccan style over here, and then they have the stars and stripes over here. Right? U.S. Because it's really supposed to be this flag over here and then this flag over there, just like at the back of the $1 bill would have the obverse on the left and then the reverse on the right. You might hear people try to pull this one on. You're not Moorish American, you're Moorish Canadian because you're in Canada. Don't fall for that one either. Don't fall for that one. Canada's a corporation, so you can't be that. Secondly, Canada's in North America, so you're American.
And that was someone that's claiming to follow the father.
Yeah. He's more.
That's from someone, right? That's misleading the misleading right there. From somebody claiming. Somebody
who's claiming that they're on this side.
Yeah.
Right? They're telling you Moorish Canadians and Moors are United States citizens, but they're Moorish American. If Moors are United States citizens, then Moors are Moorish United Statesians. Which is 14th Amendment again, which is what Trump is saying he's getting rid of or whatever. So all these so-called Moors that has people filling out these papers talking about their U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
Oh, there's other people back.
Question, doesn't a citizen only refer to somebody like from an actual landmass?
Does not?
Doesn't a citizen refer to somebody from an actual like
You got
landmass?
the black law?
Bubble. Boy, I love it.
The black law. Let's get that black law.
Yes.
Right, because if we're talking citizen, there's different classes of citizenship. So as soon as they start talking about citizens or citizen, they're moving away. They're teetering between nationality and citizenship.
Renouncing theirs to get the green
But
card.
it's more leaning on the citizen side than the national side.
You want to be a U.S. or Canadian citizen, we want you to renounce your citizen
Right.
stat or your nationality so much, like from Hindustan,
Yeah.
Zimbabwe, or something like that. We'll give you a green card.
That's why you know when we look at Noble Drew Ali and the literature, throughout everything that he's talking about, he only said American citizens. Like he never said U.S. citizens when he's referring to citizens. It was American citizens, not U.S. citizens. Yeah, man.
I got the definition.
Yeah.
Citizen, a member of a free city or rural society. And then in comments it says civitas, C-I-V-I-T-A-S, possessing all the rights and privileges which can be enjoyed by any person under its constitution and government, and subject to the corresponding duties. Citizens are members of community inspired to common goal, who in associated relations submit themselves to rules of conduct for the promotion of general welfare and conservation of individual, as well as collective rights. And then it ends with case law, of course.
All right. Now, keep your finger there and then look up civilian.
You already said civitas.
Yeah, because they mentioned civitas in there.
Civilian. Might be yours. Oh, I thought, yeah.
You have it there too?
Yeah,
You hit it up too.
Civilian, one who is skilled or versed in the civil law, a doctor, professor, or student of the civil law. Also, a private citizen, as distinguished from such as belong to the Army and Navy or the Church in England. One who is skilled in law or versed in the civil law, a doctor, professor, or student of the civil law, also a private citizen, as distinguished from such as belong to the Army and Navy or the Church in England.
So if those people claiming that Moors are U.S. citizens, how come they're not claiming it as private citizen? If they're saying that they have their own flag or whatever, then obviously they're not a public citizen, they're private.
Inside job.
So if they're a private citizen, then they shouldn't even be talking about they're a citizen of something. All they have to do is just claim their indigenous status, which is American, which sets the standard for nobody having jurisdiction, because America is Morocco. And you can't be, if they're claiming that, if Nobudrali is claiming that Moors are American citizens, really you say Morocco. Which would explain the flag of Morocco, then the fez of Morocco, and the turban of Morocco, and all the culture that comes from Morocco. Because that's really what our government would be. Not U.S. would be our government. Morocco would be our government. But then if Morocco is our government, can we be citizens of our own stuff? If we are the rulers, if we are the Moroccan government, can we be citizens of that, or is that for other people to be part of? Because the body is not going to be the citizens. We're the ones that run it. We're the presidents and the prime ministers and the governors and the whatever.
You can't be a guest in your own home.
If you're home,
That's a good one.
right?
You
Can't be a guest in your own home.
Yeah.
Right?
Can't be yourself like that, huh?
No.
Good. So it's bringing it back. It's bringing ourselves back into what we were saying, us handling our own affairs. That we shouldn't need others to handle our affairs for us. We just handle our own stuff. It's not even, these people won't be able to move on us if we're handling our own stuff.
Exactly.
The only reason they move on us is we're not handling our own stuff. The only reason they say, oh yeah, we're gonna call children's services on you or whatever, because you're handling your own stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know, you want to discipline and you're yelling through thin wall, whatever. Of course, lady next door is gonna call. Why wouldn't she call? Well, you're yelling. I was just yelling. Yeah, well, you know what I mean? Like, you know what yelling means in this society right now? You know? Right? So watch out for those people claiming that you're U.S. citizens. You know, they're Moors, they got turbans, feathers, flag, and all that stuff, and they're claiming that you're U.S. citizens or you're Moorish Canadian or whatever. Watch them people.
Yeah.
Right? And again, remember, civilian. So as soon as they tell you that you're a citizen, your next question you ask them, are we private citizens or are we public citizens if we're U.S. citizens? And then just wait for them to respond. And, you know, as soon as they say, oh yeah, we're private citizens. Okay, so then why don't you just say we're American? Why are you attaching citizens? Why are you attaching citizen on there? Right? Because again, they can't just say that they're U.S. without attaching citizen. Right? They just say, oh yeah, we're United States. It doesn't work like that. Because they would have to say United States here. Then if they say American, well, we're American citizens. Okay, well, when you say you're American citizens, which American citizen are you? Because Brazil has those, Cuba has those, Guyana has those. You know, the islands have American citizens. Like, which one of the American citizens are you? Or was Nobudrali saying that because he knew how vast America expanded? So that anybody could say that they're down with this if they're quote unquote American. Because by them saying American, they're saying that they're the copper-colored natives who were here before the Europeans. So we have our own government here. Matter of fact, our government is who put the European onto how government's supposed to run. So you're questioning our citizenship. You should be questioning people who aren't from here's citizenship to see where they're lining up at. Somebody hand up over there? Lex, you had something?
Yeah, when you were saying
if you're ever being classified as a citizen or not, you can question what type of citizen. Another way of challenging, or my question is, another way you can challenge them is just telling them that you're national, no, or that you're indigenous.
Yeah, you could just do that, but with dealing with people on, it's just like when they say, where do you reside?
And myself.
As soon as you start answering about 5577 whatever street or whatever, you're in the jurisdiction already. You know what I mean? So we can set it from our initial interaction with where it's supposed to go. By like what you're saying. Oh yeah, so you're a citizen. Oh no, I'm sorry, you're indigenous. Aboriginal. Oh, so you're not a citizen? No. No. You don't have to be a citizen of your corporation to be here. You know what I mean? Like I'm not obligated to contract with foreign colonial entities because I'm indigenous. I already know how you guys do. You guys know what you did. Why am I going to be part of your stuff when I can be part of my own thing?
That was a question that somebody on the
yeah, because there's so much
confusion going.
there's so much confusion right now because everybody knows something.
And it's nobody else but the Asiatics so here that call themselves more. I've been seeing a lot of strange stuff going on these days with fences, man.
Yeah.
Getting pulled over by policy keepers, and then I'm saying, man, they talking like they know something, they might be a little scary, but the way they're acting, they're not acting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I said, and then next thing you know, they're getting maced. You know what I mean? And I'm saying, man, somebody set these guys up and try to scare people.
Yep.
You can read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way they're going on, I'm saying, man, jeez.
Yeah, make them record something.
Yeah, then they call somebody on the phone. Yeah, get them on the phone. Okay, I'll be humble. I'm saying, something ain't right about this picture. Yeah. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm just using that for one example right now.
Is there any more questions? Yeah.
So I understand the importance from left to right to have the mother flag, Moroccan flag on the left, or languages that we read from left to right. But if it's like in Arabic or another language from right to left, is that same setup, or is it
for
the languages that are in left to right?
Yeah.
That's the importance to have the mother nation.
Yeah.
On the far left because the language is
right. Yeah.
So if it's like in Arabic,
if the language is from right to left, well, I think that those particular languages, if they have a protocol, it's not going to be based on it's not going to be based on their their engagement with colonial forces. It'll most likely just have their thing on it. You know what I mean? So it'll probably be in the center.
Be a different nation.
Or like they wouldn't, that's necessarily because of the colonization why we have the two flags. But even if you go to like I seen it at the dojos and stuff like that they got the flags up, and they never have the Canadian flag before theirs. They always have theirs first. So that could be some flag standard that regardless of the language, mother flag automatically goes on the left type of thing.
It's the same reason why they put the wedding ring on the ring finger.
Yeah.
Because if the shortest foot, that's directly to the heart.
Right.
So it might also something to do with that.
Yeah.
What's the ring finger? Is that the ring finger? The reason it's chosen out of all your hands, shortest artery that leads to your heart. That shortest distance, so it's the closest to your heart. It could be the same philosophy with the left.
And I mean it.
And the text is going from left to right anyway, right? You're writing in English and you're writing left to right, so it's at the start of the first time it's gonna be still at the start of the text.
And there's so like with like we were talking about even when we were coming up here with some of the pendants, the Moorish pendants having a scimitar over a green star and a scimitar over a red star, and the significance of the colors, and you know what does it mean, and is there a meaning, or is it just, you know, they just use those two colors just on some basic levels, and we're throwing it into, you know what I mean, somewhere where it's never been before. You know what I mean? That's just how the energy is with the Moors. You know, that, you know, us having an open mind is different than Negroes and whoever have an open mind. So there's a lot more that's revealed with us when we study, or when we consider things that we've never considered or whatever. You know, it always goes into some different realm. You know what I mean? Some higher level of understanding, which, you know, can't even be wrong. But also too, making sure that everything that we intake or whatever, that we're fact checking, because of the age of confusion, that, you know, people could put anything out. You know what I mean? They could put anything out. That was it for questions. Anybody got any more questions, comments? We're going to be starting up a few initiatives moving forward. We have our temple do's and don'ts that we're going to be getting out to everybody soon. If you remember when we had our last town hall, we went over some of those things. So we're going to be getting that as a print up version, and also we're going to send out an email with regard to that. Brother Yasun, any word on hugs?
No.
All right. Okay. Also, Moorish Family Services. We're going to be launching that momentarily as well, dealing with youth guidance, any type of family type of issues, mediation, whatever. Making sure that there's somewhere to contact before you contact these Europeans for whatever family, domestic issues or whatever. Substance abuse issues, mediation for whatever, whether it's you, your mate, you, your mom, you, your friend, whatever. Having some type of outlet that we can go to for ourselves, relative to also Brother Yasun with the Hugs program, which would be the men's program for the men to get together and build and do whatever it is that we have to do to correct ourselves. As well, we're going to be having, starting next week, we're going to put up a schedule. We wanted to get the classes in earlier. So instead of 1 o'clock, starting at 12 o'clock. And with starting at 12, going for 3 hours, 3.5 hours hard. And then from 4 o'clock to at least 6 o'clock, having consultations with the older members, but also with the new members, just to do a formal meet and greet type of idea. Find out where people are at, what they're dealing with, what they could bring to the table, just so we can build rapport out the gate with people, opposed to waiting for whatever situations to happen before we do these sit downs. So at next week. We're gonna have a sign up sheet. We're probably gonna be doing maybe 15-minute, 20-minute sit down. So we'll have a sign up sheet with times on there. You just put in your name. We'll meet at our time, have our little discussion, and go from there. You have anything to add, Omar, to that?
I think we're planning to meet in Hamilton on the last week of November.
Oh, any upgrade on that, Randy?
Yeah, last week in November. Probably the same location as last time.
Oh, at the yeah. Yeah, brother Lex.
Quick promo, this week Friday, Education Committee movie night, we're watching American Gods. Free for council members. So, come on out. This week Friday.
That's a series, though. That's yeah, it's a series.
Oh, okay.
You got the
I thought it was a movie.
That's all
We watched what's started. Registration.
We watched.
That was the first series.
We watched
Yeah, we went series, TV series.
yeah.
It's one season or multiple seasons.
Yeah.
It's as you know, obviously, young ones coming on now. Come on out with you with the caregiver, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say
There's a lot in that show.
yeah, it's a very graphic,
Viewer's discretion and
mature
bias.
content, so there's certain scenes that I don't even want to.
So you seen it? It's very powerful stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that first episode. Yeah, that show is serious.
Yeah.
There's a lot of what we talk about, like with the energies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and also too, remember that it's even though it's free for members, feel free to invite people who are new to the info or whatever, because we know that this whole internet era, age or whatever, they're about this deciphering movies and decoding everything, and everything has some type of symbolic reference point or whatever. So, feel free to use that to draw people in who are, kind of on the fence, that they can, attend the movie night and at least see things from a Moorish perspective. You know what I mean? Yeah, more.
Something I was thinking about the other day too. So instead of just it's for being entertainment purposes, like we're trying to watch movies that are Moorish influence or have some type of design or something relative to it that we build on or whatnot. So instead of us just watching the movies, setting up like a 5 questionnaire type of thing that everybody will have to answer. You're gonna have homework before you come in. You're gonna have to pay attention to the movie and see what's going on, and then there'll be 5 customary questions, same questions every week. But,
Yeah.
like something like, what did you get out of the movie?
Right.
Or yeah, exactly. How does tie into the Moorish Quiet Act? Specifically the part, I don't want to say, well, the movie doesn't know that. So those type of questions just to spark our brain and make sure we're actually taking in something and learning.
Right. Yeah.
And the Moorish, part of the rejection, but Moorish offsprings, I would advise they also answer those questions.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. We're also going to be sending out the flyer for Noble Juali Day, the 9th annual. It's on January 5th, 2019, 29 St. Denis Drive Gym. The lecturer this year, we have Brother Sheldon L. is going to be in town. So he's going to be presenting the more you are, the more you see. And it should be quite interesting. Right? We're also going to have, of course, our Noble Juali Day awards and performances this year. Brother Raquel, Roots K, Iron Sheik, Anonymous. And we also have vending. So if you know people that have, cultural, quote unquote, businesses, and they want to vend, they could contact canaanlandguide@gmail, canaanlandguide@gmail.com, or 416-301-7216 for vending opportunities. Right now we have Brother No Shakari, Nile Valley Books. We have Majestic Beauty Company, with shea butter, candles, baths, salts, all that type of stuff. We have Natural Love Inc., which is holistic tinctures and herbs, things of that nature. I think that's it for right now. I think we have space for about maybe 7 to 10 vendors. What else is going on? That's about it. And then don't forget 16th is our weekend, right, Omar? Yeah, 16th. We're gonna be away that weekend, the weekend of the 16th. So
Sunday
Of this month?
yeah, of November, yeah. Weekend of the 16th of November.
weekend of the 16th.
Yeah.
So there will be no.
Yeah, unless there's somebody, one of the admin who's available, but I probably doubt it, to open up on that weekend.
I'm really not talking November.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? Yeah, Mark.
I don't know who made a comment about the ring finger. I know that's going around a lot on YouTube. When you wear the ring finger, the ring on the ring finger, link to the heart. I don't know if people check it out, but I don't think it's all that. It's actually just going back to the old belief, to the Rome, but all your fingers, the feet, go to the heart. There is a vein or artery that goes to the heart.
Well, it runs through all the fingers, not just one.
He didn't say one, he said it's the shortest distance to the heart.
That's what he said? It's the median arteries.
So we all right.
Who's not right? Who's not right?
Started off saying he doesn't know who said it, so everybody said we're all right. All right. All right.
Islam. Durrell. Your time. Your time. Your time. Virgin, your time.
Wipe off the hands.
You have to wipe off the hands then? You have to wipe them out there? What you talking about, huh? One on the left, one on the right.
Allah, Father,
Allah, Father, the universe. Father, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night, and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Jolly, Islam. What's that? Peace, love, Moors. Peace and love. Make sure you check out Canaanland Moors on YouTube. And make sure. What's up, bro? Everything good? Good to see you, man. Looking sharp as usual, bro. Good job. Everything good? Peace and love, Moors.